Hey everybody, this is David Morris. I'm publisher of Lake Drive Books, where we publish books that help you heal, grow, and discover. We're here talking today about Cynthia Vacca Davis's book, Intersection, a story of faith, identity, and authenticity. Such a big topic for our world today. We are joined by the author, Cynthia Vacca Davis, and what we're really talking about is the audiobook for Intersection. And we are joined by the book's two narrators, the fabulous Jennifer Pickens and the fabulous Curtis Michael Holland, all the way from Hong Kong, too, correct? And Jennifer from the West Coast of the United States. And Cynthia, I'm in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Cynthia, you are in Virginia.
In Virginia. So
Thanks
we
for
are
joining us.
all over the place.
Thanks for writing this amazing book. That's why we're all here, and it's tells such a story of hope, and it's about a certain topic, but it transcends that topic and teaches us all or involves us all in an incredible read that just pulls us in and teaches us something about how we need to live in our world today. So thank you.
Oh, and I'm just so appreciative to Jennifer and to Curtis for taking the time with the book to understand what it's about and to connect with it. And when you're a writer, everything makes sense in your head, and you never know if it's going to translate. You never know if anyone outside of your head is going to read that book and not only understand it but appreciate it. So it's a big deal to me. It's a really big deal to find two narrators that had a passion for the story.
Well, thank you again, Jennifer and Curtis. Cynthia used the word fire to describe their narration.
I did.
Which is pretty cool. Like there's both their voices in different parts. And the book is a dual narration book. It's a dual narrative memoir. So there's a female voice and a male voice. And the chapters even sort of bounce back and forth a little bit, at least toward the last third of the book. And in the sample that you can find on audible.com or on Amazon or wherever you find audiobooks, iTunes perhaps, has both voices in it too, if you ever go and listen to the book online. Tell us, Jennifer, why don't we start with you? Tell us how you first heard about this book and what resonated about it that made you go, "Ooh, I gotta check this out."
I saw the audition online, and the first thing that caught my eye was the title. I was like, is this really about what I think it's about? Danny, one of the characters, one of the real people, is an intersex person, and I myself am an intersex person. So I get a little bit excited when I see something that I can relate to in that way. And I grew up in the evangelical charismatic church. So my personal story intersects with this book on multiple fronts. It was just exciting to see something that I could relate to on so many levels. That's what drew me in. And then I read the sample. I said, "Oh, this is also written well." That's always nice when you're narrating a book. So I wanted it, and here we are.
And thanks for jumping in and being sort of the host for the process for us and getting this audiobook recorded. Your professionalism's awesome, and your reading is awesome as well.
Thank you.
It definitely drew me in from the very beginning as well, just like Cynthia. It was quite a process. What did you think, Cynthia, just in terms of hearing other people narrate your own voice?
Yeah, I was so skeptical when I learned, much to my chagrin, that I wasn't going to be narrating the book myself. Not that I really had any plan for what I was going to do at Danny. I didn't even think that. But as a reader, I love to hear memoirs that are read by the writer. And that's just my experience as a reader. I just, and as a
That's normal.
an avid audiobook consumer, because I'm so busy. I spend a lot of my time listening to audiobooks. So I like it when the author does the reading. So I wasn't so sure how I'd feel with hearing another voice, playing me, taking on my role. And I shared this on social media a week or two ago that I'll never forget the day that I first heard Jennifer's audition. I was in one of my favorite coffee shops in New Orleans, and David emailed me and said, I think we have a really special submission for a narrator. And he sent me the email that Jennifer had included, or the little note Jennifer included along with her audition. And it was the prologue, and I listened to it right there. And I got tears in my eyes because Jennifer channeled that scene. Jennifer knew it was just like she was in the car with me, because that's the scene. I'm driving through a rainstorm, and she put out the emphasis on all the right words. She just had the cadence and the rhythm, and instantly I knew this was the way this needs to go, and I can trust people to carry my dream forward. I can broaden it. It doesn't always have to be me doing everything. I can share my dream and have other people help carry this book forward. And I was so excited, so excited. And we didn't even still know anything about who's going to do Danny yet, but I'm already so excited at that moment.
And then Curtis, you were introduced to us by Jennifer. Thank you, Jennifer. And you came in and did the part of Danny, whereas Jennifer is doing the part of Cynthia. Thank you, Curtis. What was your hope for this book when you saw it? What did it look like? What did it represent for you when you were looking at it?
Well, like a lot of narrators, I'm a sucker for a good cover. So when I saw that, I was like, okay, cool. It looks nice on the portfolio. But also, I was raised on like two different types of Christian, and I'm also gay. So all of this and seeing that it was from a progressive Christian publisher, which I didn't even know that was a thing, I was like, I feel the need to be on this. So when Jennifer reached out to me to send a sample, I was like, yeah. Like I felt like it was almost a responsibility of mine to help tell this story. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Wow.
Yeah, that means a lot.
Tell us, while we're with you, Curtis, tell us a little bit about how you got into narrating audiobooks. What do you do? What was your background like? And what kind of books do you narrate? That kind of thing.
Okay. Well, I always get discovered at airports, for modeling and act. No, but really, when the pandemic started, I had already had a podcast, so I had basic equipment for recording, and I couldn't act anymore because of the pandemic. So I wasn't acting, I wasn't directing, and I'm just a creative person, and I need to perform no matter what. And so I found that when I went online and I researched about voice acting and audiobook narration, and audiobook narration is the thing I really fell in love with. And this is kind of my stage now. Like I'm not worried about when I can perform on stage again, because this is my new stage.
Wow.
Not so new anymore, I guess.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What does that look like?
Oh, go ahead.
What does that look either way? What does that look like for you, Jennifer? How did you get into this business of narrating audiobooks?
I've been a reader my whole life, so I really came to audiobooks through the book aspect, more so than the acting part. I did some, community theater and, show choir, that kind of performance in school, but I don't love having the spotlight on me physically in person on a stage. So I've worked in the service industry my whole life, and I like it. And it's its own form of acting, actually. Anyone who's ever had a bad day and then has to, be nice to people for 8 hours knows that. But at some point I said, well, what could I do if I could do anything? And I kept coming back to audiobooks, but it seemed like some mysterious, intangible thing that's done in secret somewhere, and some secret club you had to be a part of. So I just started researching, and lo and behold, there are ways to get started. And now I'm doing it.
And you've been
I
reading a
think
lot of
secretly I
reading a lot
wanted
of
to be part of that club, Jennifer. I think that's why I wanted to. I think that's why I wanted to read the book, because I wanted to be part of the secret club.
you just gotta get it.
There's a handshake, but until you've narrated something, I can't teach it to you.
You know.
Probably took you a while to finally feel confident at it, Jennifer, if not as well Curtis, but maybe not too long, because you both are naturals for sure.
There's definitely a curve there, you know, when you first start it, or you feel really confident and then you like maybe go back and listen to something that you did later and you think, wow, what can I really do this? This sounds, you know, not like it did in my head. It's there's a lot of learning curve, you know, the way that the microphone picks up your voice is very different from there's a lot of things. So, and there are people that coach, you know, and I got some help along the way and
Nice.
encouragement as I got started. Yeah, for sure. A little help with the acting that I didn't have, you know, the coaching, the training in. So,
Cynthia, that sounds a little bit like writing too.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
what the way it reads on a page for someone else isn't necessarily what was in your head.
Exactly. Or sometimes what you write, when you go back and look at it, like, that's not quite what I wanted to say. How do I do it better? And yeah, I used coaches too. You know, I think that's how we get better at the things we want to do and do
Even though
well.
you teach writing, but
Yeah.
you still have to get coaches and help to
Oh,
and
absolutely.
feedback.
Absolutely. I mean, think
Yeah.
of the editing process we went through, David. I mean,
Mhm. Yeah.
even after I sent you the manuscript, I thought I was done, but we had a lot more work to do.
Jennifer, can you say a little bit about how you approached we don't want this to go on too long, and I'm not trying to limit your time, but I just wanted to find out if you know, what would you say you do when you approach a book like Intersection? How do you prepare for reading it?
the main thing is just to actually sit down and read the book and to spend time with the characters, with the people in the book, get to know the author's voice. Um, you know, every author has their own particular voice, so you could hypothetically just sit down and cold read a book into a microphone, but until you really know the author's voice and you get to know the characters, you're not going to connect in the same way. So for me, it's that's the main part is really spending time with the book. You know, with some books require more research. If you don't know how to pronounce words, it's shocking how many words we don't know how to pronounce correctly until you start narrating audiobooks. And you're like, wow, I'm seriously, like, all the time I would not have guessed that there are so many words that I say
Or reading
incorrectly.
in front of a class. I don't know how many times I've been reading in front of my class, but like, oh, I don't think I know how to pronounce that word.
It's always surprising the words that come back from an editor. Like, what are you doing here? That's not a thing that people say. But just
How about I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just recapping what I was saying. Just getting to know the author, getting to know the characters, really diving in there, spending time.
Yeah.
And you channeled my voice. It's like, that's the thing. Like, that is the intangible thing that I could hear in your sample. Like, oh, wait, she heard my voice. And that's what really, it was amazing to me.
And that's what good writing does.
Yeah.
It's just a love fest here.
And good
Now-
narrating. Like, I think that's amazing that Jennifer, like you're able to do that. You're able to, you know, pick that up and be the caveat for that voice. Like, it's amazing.
And
Thank
then
you.
you did the same, Curtis. You
A little
know,
different.
how did you approach it? There's so much you read the part of Danny, and there's so much warmth and variety in your voice and tone. For both of you, we just get pulled in as listeners to the story that's going on. There's like an emotional feeling to it. That's what my experience was, for sure.
Yeah, that's the thing. You have to be emotional about it. You really have to care. Because I say, like, speaking into a microphone or acting into a microphone, it's like putting a magnifying glass over your voice. So everything's there. If you're not fully present, it's gonna read through. We'll be able to hear it. And yeah, so there's that. And obviously just trusting yourself, just being able like to understand I can channel this story to the audience. I can channel this to the listener, and not staying in your head about it, not worrying about you, whether you sound good, whether you're going to impress David and Cynthia, but just being that person, knowing who that
Mm.
human is, and remembering that you can't use your brain to kind of control when you're in the moment. You kind of have to like leave your brain out of it, and then just remember, okay, at the end of the day, it's all about communicating the human condition. Not to get too like artsy and abstract, but it's all about communicating what it means to be human. And if you can do that, and if you don't let yourself get in the way and your own ego get in the way, then that's when the really good work happens.
And, you know, Curtis, it was a different experience for me listening to you because I'm hearing you do Danny. I'm not hearing, you know, you project my thoughts like it was with Jennifer, but it became really clear to me once I started hearing you do different voices that you really created a character out of Danny. Everything that you were doing that was Danny's thoughts and Danny's scenes, you were in character, you were Danny. And then you do all these voices for people around Danny, and it truly was a performance. And I was so impressed by that.
Thank you. Yeah, I was at first, because I did have to get out of my own head. I was terrified. I'm like, like I'm not intersex. I'm not Danny. I haven't met Danny, and I didn't want to be too masculine or be seen as too on the other side of things. And I wasn't sure. I didn't, before I actually knew who Danny was through getting into the writing. I was like, what if you're too yourself, or what if you're not enough Danny? Like that was a lot.
I worried
Not
about
knowing
that
who he was.
writing Danny's part because I had to write Danny in the first person, which I was horrified to do. And I worried the same things. How do I not be me just pretending to be Danny? And yeah, it's a legitimate concern, but I think we both managed to pull it off. That's what Danny says anyway, so we'll go with that.
Oh, did Danny hear the
Yeah.
audiobook?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Yes.
I've never met him, so it's just kind of cool.
It's so cool. It is so amazing. And I shared with Danny some of the voices of other, fine narrators that had auditioned, but they weren't right. We had one guy with a really kind of deep, gravelly voice, and he was great. He had a great voice, but not Danny. I mean, Danny can't be read by a deep baritone or bass voice. It just wasn't right for the part. And when Danny heard you, like even just on the audition, he's like, yes, this guy can do it. Yeah.
I had no clue. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
That would have been nice to know before going in, because I was like, I hope I do this justice.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
you guys both did it justice. We're so grateful. Danny's grateful, obviously, as well. And yeah, it really is an amazing listen. So you've created something great. We're going to keep promoting it. We're going to keep getting it out there. Anything that either of you wanted to offer about the book, and maybe you could tell us, like, how do people find out about you in terms of reading audiobooks? Not that there's a lot of market for that with these viewers, but just curious.
Well, other readers might want to listen to their voices some more.
That's true.
As far as finding out about me, I have a website, jenniferpickensaudio.com. Or, for either of us, you can search our name on Audible or wherever you like to listen to audiobooks. If you want to hear some more stories.
Yeah. Website for me too, curtismichaelholland.com. And we're both on like Instagram, all the platforms. I'm at Curtis VOVA. And Jennifer is, I'm not sure.
I'm something. I think I'm Jen Wren Pickens.
Pickens, yep.
Yeah. With the W, Jen Wren. Yeah.
And Cynthia's at cynthiavacadavis.com or at
Yep.
lickdrivebooks.com.
Yep.
And again, just thank you so much. It's nice to have this be about real people, because that's what the story's about too, in the first place. And thank you for your time today, and thank you for the narration. And we'll just be hoping it'll find readers everywhere. So appreciate it.
And thank you for just being generally awesome people. It's been wonderful getting to know you through this process, and I feel like I've made some
Back
friends.
at you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.